Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Premier League presentation. I'm Blaze. We're going to be bringing you guys a game between No Tidehunter and Team Empire. This is going to be Game 3 in this Best of 3 series, so we've seen some interesting matches thus far, very gank-oriented for the last one. Night Stalker and Riki roaming together, having a lot of fun with that, and then, of course, that Trent pick from first game still boggles my mind, but it's awesome stuff. Either way, that is going to be the previous games. Now we're moving on into Game 3 to decide who is going to take this series away, who's going to take this match and possibly put themselves in a very good position to secure a slot in the playoffs. Either way, it remains to be seen, but I do have my co-caster here, Vikramond. How's it going, man?
Hey man, it's going really well. So what heroes did you say that No Tidehunter actually used in the last game?
Riki and Night Stalker, right?
Oh, anything else? Like what other heroes?
That's about it. They had Riki and they had Night Stalker, 2v5.
I was trying to bait you into saying Wisp. Because of course, we can no longer say that as of like 3-ish minutes ago, I think. It is now officially and forevermore IO.
Oh, really? Oh.
It is, yes.
I don't like it, but I understand it. I mean, Warcraft 3. Gotta get that lumbers.
It's a WC3 thing. Anyway, so Empire,
Still gonna whatever.
Their first ban phase now 100% preoccupied with Admiral Bulldog heroes, which is interesting. Two bans directly targeted at him, and I find that Bulldog is a critical component of what No Tidehunter do, but I don't know that banning two Bulldog heroes right from the get-go is that great, because I mean, Bulldog in that last game was very useful, but they didn't lose to him. They lost to partially the draft and partially like S4 and Loda's heroes. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that Nature's Prophet was quite as consequential, making it worthy of a first ban, because first bans are so expensive now. Like you put so much through when you choose to first ban a hero like Nature's Prophet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is absolutely true. If they're committing that to it, it does counteract a little bit of No Tide style, but they're so very flexible, pretty much committing both Earth bans to respecting Admiral Bulldog. It does limit his options, but we've seen him play a bunch of different other things. Brewmaster, no, I'm kidding. But anyways, he is still versatile. He's still, great offlane player, and presumably we'll see something cool. Maybe a bounty hunter would be appropriate for this game. Either way, No Tide has pretty much an open field. Darkseer, Magnus, could snipe the Queen of Pain, so Vigos doesn't get that. Really, they have even Nyx Assassin available in the field, and they're going to start off with that and a Chen. S4 and Ake taken care of.
I like the Chen. It's going to continue No Tidehunter's sort of aggressive approach. We're going to set up the Nyx Assassin Bat Rider fight in the middle, probably. Again, didn't actually go that great for S4 in Game 1, actually. He couldn't make much of anything happen on the Nyx Assassin. They do, of course, have the option of putting Eggum on it as well. I think it's more likely that they actually will go mid. Actually, I would say like 60 to 7% chance. But if so, it's definitely going to be an interesting matchup. But No Tidehunter will... Wow. No Tidehunter will once again look to take the fight to Empire with that Chen, with the Nyx, and just really seek to fight it out.
Yeah. Now, I think the Shadow Demon pick here is going to be a no-brainer. That will leave it so that Team Empire can ban out a lot of carries, but you just got to get it against a Lifestealer, against a Darkseer. It's just too powerful of a hero to just let go, and Eggum is actually really good on that Shadow Demon. So I think, yeah, 100%. I would bet money on Shadow Demon being the next pick. But either way, Team Empire building an interesting strat. Lifestealer, great carry, has a lot of survivability against Nyx. Like, he can just ignore the carapace completely and stay on target there. As well, Darkseer. It didn't work out so well in the last fight, but or the last game. But in general, Scandal playing up that Darkseer, I think they can do a lot with some good surges on the Lifestealer, as well as just good Wall of Replica vacuum action here. So, No Tidehunter, don't disappoint me, because I don't want to look like an idiot. But seriously, Shadow Demon is absolutely the best choice. You can defensively disruption the Bat Rider's lasso. You can purge the Lifestealer, take off the Surge. You get rounding out your lineup with Chen, setting up Chen creeps and their neutral action there. Oh my gosh.
Magnus is a good pick too, honestly. Okay. It's not like he's a bad pick.
No, okay. What they're doing is they're changing gears here. They're going Nyx Assassin as a support. They're going Magnus on the mid. They're going to have S4 pick up that Magnus and Nyx Assassin picked up by Eggum. So they realize Nyx Assassin can't be as viable of a core if he's going to get shredded. Carapace generally prevents that, but Lifestealer doesn't really care. He just goes in, gets a little bit angry, and from there the spikes are not really too much of a problem. So... with that, if Nyx was a core and then just got shredded by the Lifestealer because of that factor, it would have put a lot of too much eggs in one basket for us.
Right.
And I think it's a good rotation for them. It just disappoints me that we don't get to see the Shadow Demon when it was just such a pristine pick in every other way.
So to be fair, Blaze, I think almost certainly this is. I hate doing this, but I do it all the time because it's a typical caster trap. But getting into the hermeneutics of reserve time. No Tide dug into their reserve time enough in that pick that I think almost certainly they were having the same internal discussion. It was, do we take the Shadow Demon and face the fact that Nyx might not get that much done as a mid, or do we switch the mid to Magnus and end up not taking the Shadow Demon? Which, it's a fraught choice to make. I mean, if you first pick a Nyx, it's frequently because you want him to be, you want him to play a specific role in your roster. And so having to change that around, obviously not necessarily what they wanted. But in terms of other picks they could do, I think the Magnus is excellent. I mean, the reverse polarity will lock down that lifestealer for a pretty substantial length of time. And Magnus is one of the heroes with the absolute highest upside in the game. Like, how many games have we just seen won by one RP or a couple good RPs? And it's not as if it's the hardest ability in the world to hit, frankly. You've got a blink, you've got a skewer, you've got positioning tools that help you set that up. And its range is not trivial.
But one thing you kind of may take for granted a little bit there is having a blink in the first place. 1 versus 1 versus a Batrider is not Magnus's easiest lane. Those shockwaves, those skewers, they're very predictable. You have to rotate on around. He's kind of like a charging Rhino when it comes down to the napalm stacks because he has to choose a vector, has to get in that position, and he can't just dilly-dally back and forth, which is rough on a melee. He wants to be able to get the last hits, get his spells off, but just adding that extra little bit of delay from the napalm, it makes it harder and harder for him to sustain. But we've seen S4 do it time and time again with some early magic stick action, and presumably we're going to see him do his best in that situation here.
Right. So Empire now going way towards Lotus heroes. This is another thing where if you don't take your carry hero in the first 3, you're opening yourself up for a team very, very concertedly focusing that. No Tide, meanwhile, I think they think that Empire is almost certainly going to take that Shadow Demon 4th. Because Shadow Demon... So they're banning out the heroes that pair with the SD rather than actually taking out the SD. Which is interesting to me. It feels like they maybe don't... They're not worried at all about the Shadow Demon. Like, they're not going to go something like a PL. So they're... because obviously PL against Darkseer Shadow Demon is... You can still win, just because PL is... pretty strong hero. But,
yeah, apparently broken. He has like one more juxtaposed illusion than he's supposed to or something like that. So in this 24-hour period, he is absolutely, totally imbalanced broken, but soon he'll be put back in his place. Either way. But yeah, now we see the carry bans come out. That was pretty predictable from Empire because of the fact that No Tide hasn't selected theirs, and Lifestealer is a great number 1. So Anti-Mage, Luna, and Faceless Void taken on out. What's that leave for Lodar? Are we going to see a Gyrocopter?
Sorry. I think...
Oh, never mind. Never mind. That was their plan. That was their plan, and I think it's a great one. I think that maneuvering right there makes everything work out beautifully for Team Empire, because Magnus plus Gyro, very, very strong, would have dealt with Darkseer's illusions greatly, but because Team Empire has first pick, they're like, screw it, we'll take out 3 and pick up 1 for ourselves. So now they can run Gyro on the mid and Batrider in the jungle, or they can run Gyro as a support, which I haven't seen Empire do, but I think you might have caught more games. Have you seen Gyro support coming out of them, or...?
Not usually. I think maybe once or twice, but it's not their most common strat. They like putting blow on the Gyro. His pedigree is really in these mid-game carries. Like, I feel like he doesn't excel quite as much. I don't know if the numbers bear this out, but he doesn't excel quite as much on these super hard late-game carries, and I know for a fact he doesn't like playing them because he doesn't usually do it. They don't usually draft in those very late game. So somebody like a Gyro, who obviously has amazing scaling very late, because of the damage stacking, but he's also very, very strong in that early to mid game, is a good hero for blow. But then on the other hand, so is Lifestealer, and this gives them a sort of double threat approach that I think is pretty good. They could also run the Gyro mid. Well, actually,
I'm even more curious about No Tide Hunter's lanes. With that Shadow Demon pickup, it changes everything that we're here talking about. Pretty much they have 3 kind of supports. I think S4 could still technically run Nyx mid, and they could try Magnus off lane for Admiral Bulldog. The question is how much that'll work. The open wounds is not that big of a deal when you get the Skewer on away, but that homing missile is still going to stay on target there. I think if Magnus kind of rotates between off lane and jungle, I think he'll be in an okay situation. It's just... it's not going to give him the farm that he wants for that Blink Dagger. Like I was talking about, he wasn't in the best circumstances in a 1v1 mid against Bat, so I guess in this situation there's no great lane for Magnus, but he can do okay if he goes for solo top.
I think it's okay. Certainly they were planning on this, so they've baked all these considerations in. it's up to us to sort of see what actually happens in the game. But this Shadow Demon pick was planned right from the first ban of this set. They take out heroes that would make Empire want to pick Shadow Demon fourth. Like you see, the Lesh, Lina, Rubik, these are all heroes that you would want to pair with an SD. So by banning those three, they ensured that Empire wouldn't take Shadow Demon fourth. So they were always planning to take the Shadow Demon fourth, otherwise they would have just banned him. So they've definitely considered this. They're definitely, I think you're right that they're going to run the Magnus as a solo. They could do aggressive try solo safe Magnus, which is Magnus versus Darkseer, not actually that bad. If they can engineer that to be the 1v1 lane, that's perfectly fine, frankly. You're not worried about that lane, especially if you can get a Bottle Crow. So, yeah, I don't know.
The issue with that is Chen would be completely reliant on the creep spawns. Like, if he doesn't RNG the perfect teamfight creeps, then that aggressive tri lane is going to fail. But they go with a Phantom Assassin. They have a lot of potential with this, but it's not going to be necessarily a kill lane. I don't even think they're really too worried about bringing down the lifestealer and stopping him from farming away, because if PA can just find her money and they get enough disables on silent that the Fiend's Grip isn't that big of a deal, then suddenly Loda is unstoppable. He can easily go up against a dual core like Lifestealer Gyrocopter and come out on top. And I think in this situation that PA, one of Loda's many heroes that he likes to pick up, I think it'll be used to great effect here. It's a really solid pick, and he certainly has the support for it with SD, Chen, Nyx, Magnus, all of these heroes amazing at setting up damage. And from there, PA just has to deliver.
I do like the PA. It's a risky pick. It's not the safest pick ever. You do need farm straight up. I mean, she is a hard carry. PA is one of those carries that if you're Gyro, they are going to put Goblik on the Gyro. So I think somebody in the chat mentioned that they have done it, I think, twice, which I think is more or less what I said. They've done it once or twice. But they typically run on carry. In this case, they're going to put Blow on the Lifestealer, support Gyro. But the thing about both, especially Gyro, even if you don't really get the farm you're looking for, he still has good aspects. Like, that call down is very good. It even pierces BKB for the slow component. The rockets are fantastic, frankly, and he still does a lot of work, even if he's only at a moderate level of farm. PA, that is not the case. If you don't get farm on your PA successfully, you've got a bad slow.
Unless you're
really
super
don't
lucky.
Have much to work with.
Unless you're super lucky. Right. If they don't get the disables on you, and then you just crit 3 times in a row, I mean, it doesn't really matter what farm you have. But generally speaking, the way the generations going to work there, that's not going to be something you can rely on in any way, shape, or form. And you just have to back it up with big items. Right.
And in NTH's favor, I feel like they've drafted the team they want a little more than Empire have drafted the team they want. Because support Gyro is something Empire does do, but I think it was as much keep away from No Tidehunter for that pick as it was a pick for Empire's sake. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure Shadow Demon PA was No Tide's intention from the moment that they picked that Magnus third. Because, of course, Empower significantly decreases PA's reliance on Battle Fury. She usually still goes it, but it makes her crits quite a bit beefier, because obviously at max rank, Empower is going to add 50% more damage onto those, the baseline damage of those. It gives her the AoE that she needs to sort of farm and do a lot of damage. And, I mean, Empower is just very strong in concert with this hero. So, definitely from the moment they banned the Leshrac onwards, I think No Tide were 80 to 90% likely to follow up with the Shadow
okay, bad spot here. Does get hit up here. The Rocket Barrage will follow, but counteracting with a Disruption. Just going to peel back here, and Silent is actually the one getting a little in over his head. But either way, kind of breaking onto the game. The draft is pretty interesting between those different combos. Like we talked about in Game 1, the Trent kind of predicting out Loda on the Anti-Mage. Well, this was kind of... Oh, crap. Sorry. I thought this was over. Apparently, Second Nightmare is enough to change that thought entirely. Holy crap! I apologize for that.
315 versus 300. That's the thing. They're both base movement speed actually matters a ton in this game.
Yeah.
And consequently, they knew that they could chase down Chen before the disruption cooldown came up.
Yeah. Oh my god. I feel really bad about that. But I mean, obviously, the viewers pretty much know exactly what happened. There was a Nightmare. There was a Rocket Barrage. There was not a second disruption from the Shadow Demon. The cooldown's just too long. So from there, they did get that kill. Now we do see. Is it gonna be tri-laning this Darkseer, supporting him up nicely so that there can be a 1v1 of Blow versus Bulldog? It seems like that's the case right now.
So that it definitely does look like that. Darkseer focused tri-lanes are something we see. They do always, if they want, have the option of rotating those supports to a different location. For now, it's good to have them here because they can also block these creep camps. They can sort of limit the effectiveness of the Chen and sort of act as a screen between the sort of Chen play area and the Darkseer play area, which I like, honestly. Darkseer Ion Shell, pretty good against Phantom Assassin. She doesn't have the magic resistance of an anti-mage. She has to melee for most of her last hits. She can use the dagger for some, but it doesn't get to a, like, you can get every last hit cooldown with it, really, ever. But really until, like, level 3 or 4 can you sort of start using it en masse to last hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that is going to be an interesting try versus try. Their entire endeavor here is to shut down the PA as much as possible. If the Lifestealer gets okay farm, he doesn't even have to go like an early Midas. If he can just get some good farm and PA is shut down for the most part, then they'll be in a great spot. But that's easier said than done. Right? Yeah. Once you hit level 3, level 5, Stifling Dagger, or actually in this case level 4, level 5, Stifling Dagger does so much damage at long range that you can be under huge amounts of pressure, and you still have this giant circle of potential with good, well-timed last hits. So
yeah, it's a trade-off. I mean, I think what they're doing is, pro Dota is always about triage, right? In this case, we want to prevent Magnus from hitting 6, but we also really want to prevent PA from getting farm. So which one do we focus on? We can only really do one. I mean, supports, even if your support pair is incredibly good, they're not going to be able to do, 8 stacks on...
Yeah, that's a lot of napalm. He does Magic Stick back up to full here. He does also have Bottle with the Carapace available. That's actually going to be a big reflect onto Vigos, but the tower hasn't engaged him yet. An S4 in a terrible spot. He is going to drop. Look at that right-click damage. Wow, that's too much napalm.
Really excellent tower aggro shucking from Batrider there, making sure that the tower wasn't hitting him. If that was hitting him all that time, he was dead. But instead, he manages to pretty much not even that difficult to pick Nyx off there.
Yeah, I mean that's just way too many stacks, and unfortunately S4 not falling back fast enough for his own liking there. It just didn't drop it off, and once you keep those stats rolling, that's just too much to deal with. There was no TP response. The Carapace was under tower, but like you said, it wasn't focusing the right target because the creep wave had already pushed in. So well timed by Vigos, and showing he can play heroes beyond just the Queen of Pain extremely effectively in this 1v1 situation here.
Right. So Vigos playing well. Like I sort of said in the first game, early on, you really needed a few levels on Nyx to actually match up in this lane. Good news for them, Bulldog almost level 5 already, so he's getting great solo lane experience. That's exactly what they want. The RP will... I mean, RP is good at any point in the game, really. It can just generate huge opportunities. I don't think Vigos is actually going to die here. Yeah, he won't. He might not have the mana to actually harass S4 anymore, though.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's going to drop off the stacks. He only has one more charge of Bottle, but fortunately the rune does spawn top, so getting outside of the range of the Impale, based on the fact that he already has Boots of Speed from that early kill, it all sets it up, just kind of flowing in motion, where now Vigos has more and more control of the lane. Does take a stun, but he has the regen rune, which means it costs S4 even more than it costs himself.
Yeah, I actually, this is one of my favorite mid matchups right now. The mid scene is kind of a little bit stagnant, and Bottle Crow is partially to blame because a lot of heroes sort of are floated by the fact that they can crow. But Nyx vs. Bat, I always just love watching because the Nyx struggles so much early, and then later on with like a couple ganks from the mid, he can just kill the Batrider so easily that there's an interesting back and forth. It's one where Batrider is still, I would say, more or less favored, but it's just always very interesting to see, especially when it's players as good as this. I mean, Vigos and S4, these are two of the absolute best mids in Europe, and maybe even the world right now.
But to change things up, they do add in a couple more to the fray. We do see this Disruption, Soul Catcher, Impale, and the Ensnare to make sure of it. That is one dead Batrider, and that puts a kill on the board for No Tidehunter.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, good rotation. We talked about
action down on bottom. They are going to pursue. They know the supports aren't nearby. With that missile locking down, they're actually going to dish out too much damage for Loda to handle. Nice jukes in the trees, Magic Stick as well, but he can't Blink Strike out. Instead, he's going to have to duel. He actually gets the evasion, but his only target is that gyro, and instead he is going to fall. Just very fortunate timing for Empire, where there were no creeps involved, because if there were any creeps that just followed on through down south of the tower, that would have been a completely different story.
That's true, but I mean, fortunate or not, they made their own luck there, right? Because they knew that Ake had rotated. They knew that Eggum was in. They were both in the middle, and they were like, okay, let's make something happen right now, and they did, which is great for them.
Yeah. And yeah, Phantom Strike is only going to be a good escapement tool if you have something to jump to, so that timing was perfect for them. No supports, no creeps, jump on in and get a nice little kill, forcing Loda to TP back on in, and every second they delay his farm, it's going to be a huge deal. Right now, Loda only has 1,600 against Lifestealer's 2,400, so just getting so much more on this top lane than Loda can compete with at this stage.
Yeah, but the good news for No Tide is they're getting very good XP. And so they've got Nyx 6, PA 6, and Magnus actually hit 7 faster than anybody else on the board, by a large margin. So I think No Tide are setting themselves up for good positioning. Obviously, No Tide are not going to be ruling this early game. If they did, we'd see a pretty fast GG. Like the team with the Phantom Assassin and the Magnus that needs to hit 6 is not the team that's gonna like get first blood and then 5 more kills. So they're playing patient. They're getting levels, which is critical for them at this point, and I think they have to be more or less happy with that.
Yeah. So they do have a lot of potential with Loda now having coup de grace and the Magnus with his reverse polarity up, but looking back at the other side of things, Empire has a lot of potential themselves. The Batrider Lasso is already available. He's mobile enough with Boots of Speed to try to jump in on something with a Nightmare setup, and I really, really think that they can accomplish a lot here, especially with this Great Observer Ward. From this position, they can choose to dive on in and immediately doing that Firefly, Iron Shell, raring to go, and Vigas finds out Eggum, going to be able to burst him down quickly with some Brain Sap to follow. He is absolutely dead. S4 tries to come on in, but gets Nightmare before the Impale comes out. Iron Shell takes it off, and it is going to be the death of Godblock, but here comes Admiral Bulldog. Beautiful, beautiful reverse polarity, but the creep's still tanking the tower. Now finally switching over, but it's not enough time. S4 already falling, and Loda on the run. Nice juke, but no. He actually is just going to sit there and die. That's not going to work out for him. One more right click should do it, and from there, Scandal going to try to TP out. Admiral Bulldog needs 2 right clicks, only gets 1, and a beautiful, beautiful Brain Sack coming out of Silent to clear things up. Ake just not in the mix fast enough, and now it looks like they're all going to get away. 7-2 in the end.
Yeah, I mean, what an excellently executed dive. And when you see these more aggressive teams in Europe playing at their best, this is what they specialize in. They know when to get under your tower. What's the Navi TI2 quote, Blaze? It's like, chase you under your tower, kill you under your tower, kill your tower.
Yeah, exactly.
So we didn't get kill your tower here, although frankly it's at 44 HP, so close enough. But Empire sort of fulfilling that promise, diving and giving Blow, frankly, a ton of space to just freely farm while they sort of leave No Tide Hunter on a wild goose chase there. They tried to get any kills and they didn't.
Yeah, and the Midas is up for the lifestealer now. He's easily going to be able to compete with the Phantom Assassin for farm. Going for more gold-oriented Midases than experience, but either way, that armlet will be relatively quick. But one question I have about that fight, do you have any idea why Loda tried to juke down south and then just kind of stood there? Like, why didn't he just run?
I honestly don't know. I think it might have been just input lag or something. He could have run. I don't favor his chances, frankly, just because he had the tranquils that were broken, so he was going to be really slow.
Oh, yeah, that's a factor. That's a big factor, actually. Yeah, I mean, he was napalm stacked once or twice. Tranquil's broken. Yeah, it's going to be hard to get on out of there, but of course, sealing his fate, just kind of jumping on around inside the trees. I thought it was just going to stay in the trees, and I'm like, oh, maybe they'll pass by, but no, just coming out to greet them.
I think he thought maybe Bulldog had a bit more damage in him.
Gun on bottom. That is going to be too much for Loda to deal with. Nice vacuum as well, but again, it's just without any creeps back here, there's no hope for him. Oh, crap. There we go. But anyways, yeah, just an opportunity for Vigas to come on in. They're using that Surge, using that Firefly so nicely, and now even trying to find out, okay, they don't have that much vision at nighttime, but it should be enough to see these Centaurs, and from there, realize that Chen is available. Going in, looking for Surge, they start off on Napalms, and it looks like Ake should be able to escape, but still.
Yeah, it's fine. They're going to pick on his stunners, which I really, really like. Smart teams, and Empire is definitely a smart team, will intelligently pick off those Chen creeps because it means he has to do so much more homework. He has to, if he wanted a particular composition of mobs, he has to hope that he got the right spawns. He has to sort of set that up all over again. So whenever you have the opportunity to clear stuff out like that, you really want to do it. And Midas helps with that as well. So this Midas on Lifestealer will do double duty as a Chen annoyer.
Mid S4. Hand of God does keep him out for the moment. Nice Carapace. He might just survive. Gets an Impale onto Vigas. There is going to be the reverse polarity committed. Trying to burn him down. Oh, beautiful flame break. He flame breaks him away. He walks out. Bottles up. There is a disruption on the ground as well as a Nightmare. It is going to be the death of the Gyrocopter, but right now Vigas lives. Loda trying to change that. Does get the kill. Blinks down the cliff, and he's was in a great spot to get the kill. Now in a terrible spot as he's being focused down too hardcore. Nice magic wand. It won't be enough though. The Tranquil is too slow. He gets the Blink Strike. He gets the Phantom Strike out. Scandal gonna go on the run to try to burn him, but no. Doesn't have Surge. Instead, just going to go for a nice vacuum, burning down Admiral. He's going to get the kill on him after the Skewer goes on through. Blow, focusing on Ake, and with this Surge, it would have been enough, but now we see the disruption, peeling him on out. S4 coming in with that stun, getting a double stun onto Silent, onto Scandal. Loda Clubs clean it up. Tranquil Boots up, so he's raring to go for more, and Scandal looks like he'll fall as well. Oh, God, like this never ends, coming back on in, but he can't get close enough for that barrage and has to fall back from here. This is, unfortunate stun for S4, but beyond that, really, really great counter engagement from No Tide. They didn't take the initial engagement. That was a bit rough on them, but after the fact, they were able to just keep on relentlessly pursuing on through and really kind of evened out the score a little bit more. Still a ways to go, but nice play from them.
Overreach again from Empire. Starting from Vigos was lucky to escape by the skin of his teeth with that ideal flame break. I mean, all props to the flame break. It was great. But then the immediate thing he does is try to cross river and get a kill when he's still at like 200 HP. Come on, like, there's a limit to how aggressive you can be in these situations. I mean, honestly, the Loda not a kill, we can't blame them for that.
Now, last swing on in, they were baiting out S4. They had the center the whole time, and actually, the Carapace, if this saves him again, I would say, oh my gosh. But just going for a lot of damage on Vigos, he will take him down with him, so a little bit of respect there. Godblack going to do some damage, but I think they're just going to disengage. So 1 for 1, both mids. Also, Loda falling. That was down on bottom. Whoa. Was that solo from Scan? No, there was at least the Bane to help on out there, committing the Fiend's Grip, and Fiend's Grip +1 is always going to be a kill.
That's huge, and the Fiend's Grip is actually what they wanted to have against Loda. Godblack will die here, but it's not that consequential, frankly.
Yeah.
The Fiend's Grip is what they went for against Loda. They want that to be always landing on him and taking him out of these fights. So honestly, great to pick up that kill because he got a very, very lucky survival. He went down to 2 hit points. That's not a lot of hit points.
No, not at all. Silent does have haste. He's going to be able to get on out of here. But, yeah, they're just kind of messing around. They're playing that 4 distract from 1. They're making sure the lifesteal can keep farming away. But playing it very, very riskily. They actually do have to surge and haste away. And they put themselves in a rather bad position. But that's the intention. You don't get a bait if you're in a safe spot. You have to go out and make the opponent think they can capitalize on your mistake. And instead, they're wasting their time. All 5 heroes down in the jungle. And still very limited farm for the Phantom Assassin.
Yeah, I mean, this has gotten into sort of a constant fight game where both teams are just sort of looking to trade blows, and I'm not sure that that favors no Tidehunter. I mean, maybe with the ideal RPs, which haven't, frankly, happened so far, but with some better RPs, maybe they could take a fight, but I still feel like their job is to generate space for Loda, and right now they're suffering in map control, they're really suffering in vision. Like, look how Empire are hemming them in terms of this ward circle here, and they're kind of suffering in the engagements as a result.
Yeah, it's very, very unfortunate. And it's kind of odd because you do have early team fight through the Chen. The neutral creeps microed appropriately can be insanely good in prior to 15-minute team fight engagements. And the Hand of God was also rather effective, but it kind of feels like they're a little bit stretched thin. They're trying to be everywhere at once, and so it's easy for Empire to find an opportunity, start off with a lasso on 1, and suddenly everybody's rushing in to try to make something happen. Speaking of, up on top, S4 popping off that Vendetta, but you only got 20 seconds, and he's got a long way to run. Actually walking right towards the Sentry, right towards Fiend's Grip. This could be disastrous for him, but he's not that close yet. S4... just stay out, man. Just stay out.
Don't go into that barn, man. Do not go into that barn. But in good news for No Tide, I mean, Loda is building towards Vlad's. Kind of cheeky, but I like the Vlad's, actually. He doesn't need to worry about that very early Battle Fury, as we said, just because he has Empower as a resource to help him do that. Consequently, he can build other things, and one of the things PA wants is lifesteal. Helm of the Dom is one option, Vlad's is another, and they do have some other damage melee in the form of
bad spot for Scandal. They don't have an ensnare. They do have an ensnare. Didn't catch the summoner, but with that shockwave, with the Test of Faith, the mech will help, but Loda with that crit, with the Centaur stun, too much. He's going to go locked down. Thought he was going 1 versus 1 for Loda. That would have been great, but Ake there and ready to give that exact amount of space you were talking about, and also feeding that last hit to PA to really, really help her farm.
And Blink for Magnus is the other thing I wanted to point out. And good news for No Tide. Having Blink on Magnus makes RPs much easier to hit. And he's going to be level 11 in exactly 1 creep kill. I want to be careful about what I said about math now, because I think last game I said Night Stalker can't hit 6 before first night, which is a lie.
Yeah,
and it's a dirty lie, and I apologize for it.
But now we do see the smoke gang coming on through. So Vigos looking for an opportunity, but the Firefly is about to expire. Actually, he's got it for a bit. He's just using it for vision. Gets it on Ake, and that's quick burst to finish him off quickly. If they get no Hand of God, no. The Hand of God comes out. Now they will deal their damage, but it's already been... Oh, beautiful Fiend's Grip from Silent. Admiral Bulldog can't get his ulti off. Instead, he gets dropped. Nice damage from S4. Trying to do a lot, but Blow is delivering huge damage from Loda. They get the wall on 2. Delivering a ton of damage, and Loda should drop here with the Infest. Triple kill for Blow. Getting another on S4. That's an ultra kill for him. Beautiful, beautiful team fight. Exactly what they wanted, and I gotta say, all set up because Silent disrupted that Magnus with the ultimate, the Fiend's Grip. Beautiful, beautiful action there.
Silent.
Rampage. There it is.
It says up here that blow your brain as Empire Blow at the Resistance got a rampage, but everybody knows that was a Bane rampage right there. The difference between getting... it would have been 3 or 4 players inside of that RP, and the difference between that and 0 players and RP never happens, it's incalculable.
Yeah.
I certainly can't calculate it because we just established that I can't do math, but I think it's just generally incalculable as well. What a huge play there. The fight completely turns around, and that's a big punishment to Loda. He still doesn't have Vlads. He might actually just not even... I guess he's not making Vlads anymore. He's gonna do the Helm of the Dom and Battle Fury after
Battle
all.
Fury,
Or
presumably.
Shadowblade, probably Helm of the Dom.
Technically could be Shadowblade, but I think they might just want to be trying to go for... what they need to go is go big or go home. They need to go for maybe Battle Fury plus Empower inside a big RP. If they can cluster them all up together and like two-shot the entire team, they definitely still have, at any point prior to the Ancient Falling, a great chance for this game. But it's limited, and Empire can play against it with the fact that they're so great at positioning. Now, smoking on up, hasting on up, Batrider willing to start things off again on Loda, and I kind of feel like he's a dead man walking. Scandal doesn't... oh, he unshelled the Batrider, so Batrider is going to do a lot here. Loda... oh, creep! He gets a creep! Oh, he lassoed a creep. Loda doesn't have a TB scroll, though. Phantom strikes away, but gets vacuum back on in. Too much damage, and it doesn't matter in the end. Loda still falls, but holy crap. Creep lassos, still... there's a new Vigos joke for everybody. Vigos lassos creeps, still kills enemy carry. All set, all set.
No skill hero, not need lasso.
Perfect. Kill him mid again, Gyrocopter. This is like the second or third time he's extended too far out in this area, and a quick Shadow Demon disruption or even a bit of burst is enough to bring him down. So kind of feeding away, but it's not nearly as consequential as the kill on the Phantom Assassin. So there you go.
Honestly, yeah, I mean, the PA kill versus the support gyro kill, I mean, they got to be happy with that. S4 looks like he might go
Goes on, and they get actually a double. Scandal jumped in right then and instead just gets dropped. Beautiful action, but instead the Fiend's Grip onto S4. Can't Carapace out. He gets it. He gets the Carapace once more. Bottling, Magic Wanding, not enough. He will drop, and they have to fall back from here. Oh, that was a good attempt, but they didn't know where the enemy was. They have no wards, and instead they're watching as just everything drops before them. They try to go in, they try to initiate, but you have to have vision or you're just going to get counter-initiated on just like so. And now a Monkey King bar up for Lifestealer. He's going to deliver so much damage to Loda, even with the Blur maxed out, which it has not yet been.
Great that he went MKB, because exactly, it'll go right through that Blur. I'm really glad you mentioned wards, because we talked about, like, No Tide need vision to be able to respond to these ganks, and they haven't really had vision since the early game. And consequently, Vigos just goes wherever he wants. He doesn't even, he doesn't even need lasso at this point.
True. So, I mean, he sets it up, he gets kills on the PA, and while Loda is just kind of huddling in a corner, trying to find a couple of, just scrape a few pieces of gold together, it's really giving an opportunity for Lifestealer to just have full control of the map. He's sitting at 12.8k. Like, you combine together the first top 3 net worths of No Tidehunter, he has that combined. It's stupid how much farm he's found, and now he's going to get an Aegis, a second life to deal with all that damage output.
Yeah, I mean, Empire feeling really, really good, and I think the MKB on Lifestealer is almost, if not the killing blow, it's going to be very strong. It's sort of the dark side of what No Tide attempted here. I said at the beginning of the game, they have the lineup they wanted, but that's not a quality statement. That doesn't mean it'll necessarily work. Like, you can have all the gimmick lineups you want, but if they're not the right lineup for the situation, it's tough. And I think the PA here, they would have had to protect it so heavily, and Empire were very smart putting that tri-lane up against it immediately, not taking the bait to try to kill the Magnus, instead just being like, okay, fine, we'll cop an RP every so often, but if the... Wow, missed skewer.
Yeah, I was about to say, Silent is uncharacteristically extremely out of position, but it ends up not mattering. They're so afraid of retaliation that they're trying to play these cute little games of, oh, we can just go in and get a quick pull him out. I mean, he's a 1300 HP Bane against 4 heroes. They can go in just like this and completely just sock it to him, but instead we see that they were so cautious until this point. TP's coming on in, Silent will fall, and no, Fiend's Grip onto Loda underneath tower. Back on the other end, Scandal looking for a big vacuum. S4 gonna drop with that big infest. turning things around back over to Loda. He did get the kill on the Bane, but falls himself to Goblek. And that's all she wrote on that one. I mean, Nyx and PA getting traded for a single attempt to dive Bane, and now you have understanding of why they're so afraid of trying to engage like that.
Okay, so Silent died, but wow.
Yeah.
Managing to get that Fiend's Grip off. This is the best I've seen this guy play in a while. He's a great player. He's a good support for Empire, but it's rare that he's like the star. And this Bane has been the star of the show this game for at least the last 5 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Another death on Loda is like the one thing that No Tide can't afford.
Vigas pulling back in. Eggum, a vacuum to help him out. The disruption will delay the inevitable, but he will indeed fall. And now they go for the RP. They try to follow it up, but without any PA damage, they're just putting them in a bad spot. There is a good skewer onto the tower. They do bring down Goblek, and it looks like Batrider will have to fall back here, but Lifestealer too big. There is Loda jumping back on in, gets the pick off on the Bat, now wants to follow it up, but he is up against too much here. Oh my gosh, Ultra Kill for Blow, and it looks like it's going to be another Rampage. Oh my gosh, too much. Too much damage for him.
2 buybacks, and I mean, they're just... Yeah, there's the GG, and Empire... Silent, oh my god! Yeah, honestly, he's so close to the halberd too. Like if No Tide had kept this going, they were probably even more screwed, because even more damage from Loda and Bane closing in on the halberd to completely neuter the Phantom Assassin, who is nowhere near Battle Fury, not even near Dom, the Manor Fiend's Grip.
you know. Yeah, ult and creeps. You got to round it out and hit even number creep ultis. I think so.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. They want to up the number of... I wonder if that was self-directed BM.
Nice. Yeah, that could be just flaming. Vigas, he's disconnected now, but, I think that should be a new Bruno statistic, just pulling on in how many creep ultis there are for single target spells there.
It's tough. It's tough to get that.
Oh, nice rage. Even going in against all odds, he thought he could get a kill, or at least an Aegis dropped, and instead, can't do it. And, Blue Brain didn't lose his Aegis. He was all set up. 2 Rampages, 1 game. One thing that I gotta say, though, is it kind of shows that No Tide really doesn't hand Admiral Bulldog that Magnus very often, because I can't say that it was terrible, but on a competitive professional level as one of the best teams in the Western scene, he just wasn't playing that kind of a Magnus today, and he kind of showed in that scenario. Of course, you can't talk about I'm not going to say incompetence, no, he played alright, but anyways, the lack of an impact by the Magnus without talking about Silent, and how much he just completely counteracted that, now has his halberd finished, and just having fun with that. I mean, it's just really, really smooth play by Silent, easily my MVP for this one, because that moment in this team fight, in the mid area there, by the jungle, if that reverse polarity had gone on through, if he hit 3 or 4 people with that one, it would have changed the game pacing entirely. But instead, it just went very linear, very much Empire in control of the game, shutting down Loda, giving the space to Blow, and as we can see, he took it away 15-0 and 3 in his team to set it up. Very, very nice action.
Absolutely. I mean, Blow Your Brain 15-0. It's not every day that one player goes 15-0 and you say that another player was key to the game, but the Lifestealer was great. But the reason this happened, the reason this double Rampage happened so the proximate reason, obviously, the Great Bane Fiend's Grips 2 times in a row. Actually, it was basically 3 straight Fiend's Grips that were amazing, because he also saved Vigos mid. But really, it was, they gave the Lifestealer 1v1 lane. They were like, we understand that Magnus is going to get farm, we don't care. We know, it's not No Tide Hunter's best Magnus player, because S4 plays a very, very good Magnus, and we know they're not going to put him on it. So we know it's not their best Magnus player. We know that bringing PA down is more important. So we'll make sure we move the supports down. We'll dive as much as we need to make sure we get those kills. Like, we don't even care if we lose people. They usually didn't, which credit to them, but they could have lost people and they would have still been fine with it, just to make sure that Lotus stays down. And we'll do that. We'll let Vigos play his very divey Batrider and try to generate opportunities as well. And that'll take us to where we need to go, regardless of the Lifestealer. Like, we sort of impute that the Lifestealer will get big. And our job is to make sure he is able to get big while Loda isn't. And that's exactly what happens, and I think all credit to... Goblek did die a lot of times, including sometimes in which he was out of position, but the Bane, just by himself, isn't as useful without the addition of the Gyro. And there were some very good call downs as well that really helped leverage that great CC from Bane. But, I mean, as you said, it's all about style of this game. There was one team fight that if No Tide had won, would have put them back in the game, because it would have been a ton of gold for just about everybody. They wouldn't have lost pretty much anyone, because they would have had that CC. and they would have tried to stage a turnaround from there. Maybe it wouldn't have happened, but they at least had a chance. And Silent stopped that dead in its tracks.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is going to be pretty much it. After a rough game 2, an 18-minute win from No Time Under there, we see that, I'm going to do it, Empire strikes back with a 24-minute win up against No Tai to conclude this series here. It is the best of 3 series. They took this second win, so 2-1 in favor of Empire. That is going to be it here. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the commentary. If you guys want to stick around, we're going to have a post-match interview with one of Empire's players, at least try to. Sometimes the fact that they are on the opposite end of the world and it's a little bit late by them does deter them. But we're going to try to get a post-match interview with one of the winning players of Empire and see their thoughts on the game, see their insight, and give you guys the opportunity to ask them questions directly. A bit of Q&A. If you guys jump in the Twitch chat of twitch.tv/the Premier League, if you're not already there, then you can ask questions when I ask for them, and from there we'll be able to get some cool insight after those awesome games. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure casting for you guys. The Premier League, this is Blaze. You can find me at /BlazeCasting, anything, primarily Twitter. And where can they find you, Vic?
So you can find me at pretty much anything you would Google my name for, so VYKROMOND, whether that be Twitter / Twitch / YouTube / or .com. Pretty much the entire online presence is organized around that. And yeah, I mean, I do casting. I've been guesting a little bit on TPL. Hopefully we'll get some more chances this week to do more of that. And I think possibly a new tournament starting next week that I'm going to put some announcements around in a day or two. So hopefully that'll all work out. And if you do like my casting, feel free to check out those resources.
Cool. Well, like I said, we're going to be going on into the post-match interview in just a few minutes after this game. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really enjoyed these games, and hopefully you guys had a lot of fun with them as well. So it's been a pleasure casting for you guys, and you guys have a good one.